happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono! It's all about the Sean Bono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Thanks again to Sam, the cooking guy, for joining me last segment, talking a little bit about the deep fried in oil tomahawk steak that is on his YouTube channel right now. I believe it's the second most recent. The elote, or street corn, is the most recent. He did hot Cheeto elote, but he was, I don't know if he just forgot. Looked like he was trapped back in that bathroom again. Not in his normal Emmy-laden studio. John Dawson weighing in on the instant chat. Remps, rando question. What happened to Scott Roberts? Uh-oh. I've been asking that question for a year now. Actually, when we did the first round of the Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame, as you might recall, John, I put Scott Roberts in as a recurring guest. He was once a month the official Barbecue Central Show sauce and rub reviewer. And he did a very solid, thorough job of doing, typically it was 2 rubs and a sauce. Sometimes it was the other way around. But did a write-up and had where you could buy it and how much weight was in each particular jar. He would, when we really got the video honed in, he would hold up a bottle so you could see what it was. And he would give you tasting notes. Then we actually came up with our own rating system. And he would give it a backyard barbecuer or an oven baker was like the worst. And Grand Champion obviously was the highest rating. Reserve Grand would be your second highest. But a lot of them rated out somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit better than average. But we had our stinkers as well. And he did it for years and years. He was obviously also our go-to expert in the world of fiery foods, because that's really more where Scott's name was made, was in the fiery foods section. And he had quite the palate that could take plenty of heat. And then I was lining him up for a segment, and he said, hey, I got to put this off. And then, all of a sudden, he sent me an email and said, not only can I not reschedule, I'm not going to do the show anymore. And I was like, well, what happened? So quickly, I'm going through the mental Rolodex and trying to figure out, what did I do to offend Scott? I know I had to do so. It's always me. Relationships and me span as long as it takes for me to figure out, knowingly or unknowingly, how I'm going to offend you to the point where you don't want to be my friend anymore. It just happens all the time. Some of my friendships have been longer because I haven't found that line. And I don't go seeking it on purpose, but inevitably I cross it and I offend. Ask our good friend Diane Me. Remember Diane? Loyal Centralite for years. Then we institutionalized horse meat in 2017, 2018, 2019, and she put a self-imposed ban on the show. She's like, as long as you do horse meat, I'm out of the show. So that's just how my relationships work. I will offend you at some point, and you will not be my friend anymore. Luckily, through a lot of talking, I've come to grips with that and said, hey, I will just enjoy the friendships as long as they remain. And then when I unknowingly offend you and you stop being, I will have looked back on that time as being a quality portion of my life. And I will hopefully find a new friend who I can hang out with until I offend them. And it's worked out for 44 years, almost 45 years. Anyway, back to Scott Roberts. So I started putting out feelers, and he used to appear on some other shows, and I was getting a lot of the same, Scott's not doing my show anymore, no reason, just said he was stepping out of it. He got away from all of the hot food stuff as well as the fiery food stuff. And then I started really doing some research on his social media, and I have no way of getting 100% proof unless it was with having Scott on the show for me to interview and ask him. But from what I can ascertain through social media posts, one day or 1 week or 1 month, he was Scott Roberts' ex-way, and then a day transpired and he became Scott Roberts' devout religious guy. All like Bible thump, Jesus, the whole 9 yards, the quoting scripture, and it took over his entire social media platforms and a lot of preaching. So it's something changed with him religiously. And whatever that religious is, some Christian base, I don't know if it was Catholic or whatever, born again maybe, who knows. The religion and the show were not to mix. So that's why he is no longer on the show. It's not because I don't want him on the show. I thought he was a great asset. He was very professional. He brought a lot of great insight and personal opinion. He was not afraid to say, hey, to me, this sauce blows. Hey, to me, this sauce is really good and you should go buy it. And that's what the whole purpose of it. There were so many sauces and rubs out at that point that if you had some discretionary funds that you wanted to throw around and try, you don't want to waste your money on some crap. And if you could get somebody that you trusted, like we did with Scott, who could give you at least an informed opinion, plus we knew what his palate was like, you would be able to say, well, that's something I really might want to try then. You weren't just shooting in the dark. But he's gone away. And now he's not re-showing back up or what have you. So, John, long-winded way of me giving you the background on what has happened to Scott Roberts. What has happened is he has become more religious than I ever knew he was, and that has taken over and usurped the Barbecue Central show appearances. Still to come on this show tonight via the Fogo Charcoal Hotline is Lee and Michael Quessenberry, or as I like to call him, Mark Quessenberry. Lee and Michael will be joining me. We'll be talking about Jim Quessenberry Barbecue. Also, closing out the show, I will be joined by Jonathan Bird from Dreamland Barbecue. So stay tuned for those interviews here in just a couple minutes. Don't forget to follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Episode 75 is coming up this Friday on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show, and we journey back to 2013 of June, the first time that we ever smoke with Big Mo Cason, one of the most recognizable figures in live fire today. You can hear what it sounded like when we first chopped it up on the show. Some good competition talk, of course, and really great brisket tips from back in 2013. So take a listen to that when it shows up in the podcast feed on Friday, and you will be able to see what has held over that 6-year period and what you're like, man, I would never do that to my brisket at this point. All right, let's go ahead and get caught up before we get to Lee and Michael. See, I made a joke, and now I'm going to call him Mark. Sorry, Mark. Let me call you Mark now, so I trick myself into calling you Michael. Southside Market and Barbecue. Attention, folks in the business of barbecue. Established in 1882. Southside Market and Barbecue, the oldest barbecue joint in Texas, owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Offering premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S., from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants. Southside Sausage can be on your menu, too. All meats processed in our on-site USDA-inspected facility. A trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options available, shipping nationwide via FedEx or through food service distribution like Sysco, U.S. Foods, or Martin Foods. co-packaging capable from research and development to package completion. They can also follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new from scratch. Private label opportunities also available. Visit southsidemarket.com for more information. You can get 10% off all of your online ordering at southsidemarket.com when you use code BBQ Central. One word, lowercase, BBQ Central. 10% off your entire online order. And that's not just good for the first time, it's good for each and every time you go to southsidemarket.com. Again, 10% off with code BBQ Central at checkout. Lee and Michael Quessenberry coming up out of the break. Stick around, we'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, this portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. Are you signed up for the Smokin' with Smithfield National Barbecue Championship? Registration is free. Sign up today. Hit smokinwithsmithfield.com for all the details. Also, if you're ready to find out where you rank against all the competitive barbecue teams across the country, you visit the same website, smokinwithsmithfield.com, to check out your rank on the Smokin' with Smithfield National Barbecue Championship. My guests in the second hour are here to share a barbecue tale that you may or may not be familiar with. Where does barbecue of all forms and fashions come from, and who are those characters that color the stories and events back in the day? Are you familiar with the name Jim Quessenberry? If the answer is no, then we'll fix that right now. Let's go ahead and race to the Fogo Charcoal Hotline and welcome in Lee and Michael Quessenberry. Gents, thanks for taking the time out to join this evening. How are you?
Good.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, no doubt about it. So we have you two here, but let's first start with a look back as it all started. So for the folks that aren't familiar with Jim Quessenberry, and as I had mentioned over the last couple of weeks, as I had got my hand on that short list looking at the 9 potential Hall of Famers that would end up being the 3 Hall of Famers that just got in Wednesday, I didn't know a couple names. Jim Quessenberry was one of those, and then I did some research on the internet and found out that there was some competing going on in the early 80s. There was a barbecue sauce. There were some titles to be had. But being the sons of Jim, and we can start with Lee or Michael or whoever wants to start, a little background about your dad and, I guess, his interest in live fire cooking in general.
Hey, we got a little bit of a thunderstorm going on here, so
great.
If we have some crashes and some bangs, it's par for the course.
No problem. That's right.
I'm Lee. My brother to my right is Michael. I'm the oldest of the two, and we grew up in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, about an hour west of Memphis. And when we weren't farming, we spent our spring most of the time either at Silky O'Sullivan's or in Tom Lee Park at Memphis and May. And that was way back before it got huge. As a matter of fact, my brother and I both would play flag football with other kids from other teams. That's how small Memphis and May was at the time, which is insane what it's grown to be now.
Well, I remember hearing or when I was doing some reading that at one point Memphis and May took place under one tent. Is that real?
As far as I know, that's what I've heard. It was in the Orpheum Theater parking lot. And Dad cooked from the 2nd through the 16th annual competition. The first year was literally under 110. First several years, I think.
So was your dad somebody that grew up around live fire as well, just because of the region that you guys are from, or how did he get involved in it?
As a child, my great grandparents and my grandparents, they had an Angus farm in a little town called Bird Eye, Arkansas, and all the farm hands and people would gather around like a big community, and they would dig a pit and roast a pig or whatever. And my grandmother, and then my dad too, when he was growing up, would go down there and just learn how to cook, all that kind of stuff. And so he basically learned from childhood, from just seeing and doing. And then later on, he really started to refine his skills in the kitchen with my grandmother, and probably lots of aunts and uncles that shared recipes as well.
Michael, when you look back and kind of remember your dad, do you remember him being a grill master and cooking outside a lot?
Oh yeah, for sure. Since I was old enough to stand, I would stand on a chair beside the stove and help him make his barbecue sauce or whatever it was that we were cooking. And we grew up on cooking on the Weber kettles. Weber sponsored that at one time, and I'm a big fan of Weber's. And so, I guess I didn't really, at the time, I didn't think about it about Dad winning a championship or anything like that. It was just more a dad bonding with his son and cooking,
Do you think that you guys picked up, or do you guys have an active interest in cooking yourselves, or is this more of or the way that JimQuessenberry.com is set up right now, is that just more of a business venture to carry on a legacy?
Both. Both of us went into the computer science field. We're both programmers at a local lumber company here in town in Jonesboro, Arkansas. But we both have a passion in cooking, as well as a passion in the business of, sharing stories about our dad and continuing on our barbecue legacy.
Lee, when we talk about business of barbecue, and when Michael mentioned about your dad making sauce and stuff, that's obviously something that's for sale on the website. That's JimQuessenberry.com. Is that a recipe that he was using in competitions that he was entering and winning, or just something that was like a guarded secret that you're now revealing to the general public?
It's been a long time tradition. That sauce actually won in the Kansas City, what was the name of the competition? It's the same one we just recently won third place for our mustard-based sauce in the, I believe it's World Championship of Barbecue.
Is that like the American Royal or something like that?
Yeah, the best sauce on the planet, I think is what it's called now. But Artie Davis, we found an article where Dad's the original sauce that started it all, actually won the top prize in a Mid-South category in 1989. So it's been around for quite some time. We've been fortunate to basically uncover the Rosetta Stone. My dad's handwriting was terrible, but he and my brother had this handwritten codex of things written on the back of some cardboard that I didn't understand. They teamed up on me. I was the older brother, so Dad and Michael teamed up on me quite a bit, and they used to tell me I was adopted. Like that is a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys hardly look anything alike. I mean, you had to be adopted.
Right.
Jesus,
the website came about as a school project, actually, when we were still in college. Its first iteration, we were tasked with building it was for software engineering. We were tasked with building a business software. And so Michael and I actually built the website as a 2-semester long project. And it's been upgraded and changed over the years. That's been almost 10 years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, the business it's like a hobby / sounding board for technology when we want to try out new things. And Dad was really into computers as well. He never went to school formally for it, but he got us involved in that. He knew that was where the future was. It wasn't going to be in farming or competition barbecue. It was for him. It was like, let me teach my kids something that's going to be valuable. And then, so we've fulfilled that. We're both successful in our own right in our careers. And then we do barbecue more or less for fun. We'd like to grow it, obviously, like any aspiring entrepreneur would. But yeah, that's pretty much how it came to be. It was just Michael and I kind of did it out of necessity. We got some good grades and started selling sauce. We were already selling sauce to pay for beer money in college, no labels on it. And so we were like, yeah, let's make a real business out of it. So about the last 5 years, we've been pretty serious. Like we got everything taken care of in terms of forming an LLC and partnership and all that good stuff. And so yeah, 5 years, beer money turned into something that I think, we make a pretty little penny once in a while. It's not going to make me drive a Lamborghini or anything anytime soon, but we can reach for the stars, I guess.
Michael, from a flavor profile perspective, can you paint a picture of how the sauce tastes and how it's best to use?
Yeah, sure. So we now have 4 sauce flavors. Lee talked a little bit about our original sauce. Dad actually came up with it in a dream. This was like, I was too young to remember this, but he was actually cooking briskets one night for friends, and he had been up and down all night checking his fire. And one of the times that he had laid down to sleep, he had a dream about the barbecue sauce and got up and started making a batch in the kitchen and woke my mother up. She's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, "I had this dream about this barbecue sauce, and if I don't make it, then I'm going to forget it." And so that's how the original recipe came to be. It is, we'd like to call it like a mix mash between like a Kansas City, little Memphis, but also a little Carolina as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice balance between a thin vinegar sauce and a like a Kansas City, like a sweeter sauce as well, but also with a little Memphis mixed in. We call it kind of an Arkansas thing, I guess being in that area, you're kind of like, it's the melting pot between all of the different barbecue areas. But yeah, it's more of a finishing sauce than it is a cooking sauce. So that's our original sauce. And from that, we developed a hotter version. We've got a hot version of that. And then there are 2 newest recipes, Lee and myself and our business partner came up with. I was a big fan of Big Bob Gibson's white sauce.
Right.
And so we made our own white sauce. The thing about white sauce is a lot of people are like, white barbecue sauce? And they either love it or hate it. But, there's a lot of people that like it. And our newest recipe is our mustard-based gold sauce. It's kind of a South Carolina, Georgia take on barbecue sauce. And that's the one that Lee was telling you about. We just won 3rd place in the mustard-based sauce category of the American Royal.
Lee, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to jump in there for a second. So,
I was. We had a little flicker on the lights there, and I didn't know if my phone was actually still on.
Oh yeah, no problem. So, so you have the 4 sauces, and you're actively trying to get them into market and all that. So, are you mostly attacking retail or mostly attacking online, or what's the growth trajectory before we talk about the Hall of Fame part?
Sure. we mostly were regional in grocery stores, retail. Obviously, we would like to expand our retail online just because for us it's a little bit bigger margin. We're not having to split hairs with wholesale and all that stuff to our vendors. Our go-to-market plan really is just to continue to serve our area where we can distribute. Michael, me, Jeff, Aaron, sometimes Crystal, sometimes whoever's got a place in their car and lives closest to one of the grocery stores are literally the delivery people. Like, we distribute to just about 25 stores, and we do it all ourselves. We've got a few shortcuts here and a few little swap meet type, hey, I'll trade you some sauce if you can carry it down to Little Rock type thing going on with a few milk trucks and all kinds of stuff. We got this crazy network of people that we're like, hey, we're running low down in Little Rock. Michael and I aren't going to be able to make it. If we send 3 cases with you, can you go stock the Little Rock store? And they're like, sure, yeah. And we've got a coworker that lives in a little town called Walnut Ridge, and she's been a blessing to make sure that our shelves are dusted off and that kind of stuff. So it's more than just the two of us, and it's really a lot of labor of love. We enjoy that part, but man, online would be a dream for us because Jeff, our partner, is based in Memphis. That's where we warehouse everything, and over in Memphis, he's it's the FedEx hub is there, U.S. Mail, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes in and out of there. So we luck out on shipping, and it's really quite wonderful to see people come in through the website that we've never heard of before. Like, I don't know, that's not one of Dad's friends, cousins, brother-in-laws or something. It's not like somebody my mom knew or whatever. That's a lot of fun. We enjoy that, and we both cook in contests from time to time. Michael and I think we realized early on that that's going to be something that we continue to do. Our first competition was in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a good story. This is a good segue into the Hall of Fame. Our first competition was in Nashville, Tennessee in 1989. I was 7 years old. Michael was 5. And we stayed in a hotel. It was close to Opryland, which is not there anymore. We stayed in a hotel, and my dad had bet me. We were cooking a whole hog competition, but my brother and I had a team called the Little Ribbers, and we entered the ribs competition on a custom-sized Weber. It wasn't a Smokey Joe. It was a full-size Weber with my dad had fabricated short legs for it, so that Michael and I could cook on it.
Right.
We just lit the fire and let it go, and then I think about 20 minutes before turn-in time, we stole some of my dad's ribs off his competition cooker and stuck them on the grill. Turned them in. We got 5th place.
Oh.
We beat my dad. He got 6th place
with the same ribs.
And keep in mind, this is a Memphis and May style contest, so we had to do like presentation and seat the judges. So I'm like 7 years old, gifted gab, and I'm like telling them about this. Yeah, we killed our hog. We bought it from Mennonite farmers in Fayette County, Tennessee, and da-da-da-da-da, like just this long list of BS, Some of it's true. Fayette Packing Company is where we usually buy our meat, and I do believe that one of the owners there, one of the farmers, is a Mennonite, but we were talking about how the hog was fighting another hog to spare his life and all that. BS a mile long. That's how you have to do Memphis and May, man. You got to BS the judges and then show them a good time. But anyway, we that was when we knew, like, we're always going to do competitions. We've done Jonesboro's downtown. It's the state championship of Arkansas. It's been a KCBS contest for almost 10 years, I think, 9-10 years. We won first place overall in pulled pork in the inaugural contest, and then we got 3rd in chicken last year. So we're not like a big team, but we can still get in there and mix it up and occasionally surprise ourselves. Most of the time when we win, we'd have no idea how we did it, because Michael and I are always trying new things. We're always trying new recipes, and so that's kind of where we got it was my dad. Half the cookbooks, man, half the cookbooks, I read through them and I'm like, that's bull crap. He didn't do that. Like, he made that up on the fly. Somebody asked him, hey, you got a good rib rub or something? And he would just be like, yeah, I do this, this, and this, and they'd write it down. And Michael and I can read through some of the cookbooks and know, I don't think he ever did that, or that one's close, or whatever. So it's really quite fun, and that's who you were dealing with back then.
Michael, when you get the news that Jim had been put on the short list of 9, so 3 of those 9 were going to be going into the Hall of Fame. I mean, what kind of a reaction did you have to that, and did you think that there was a pretty decent shot that he might get in?
Well, it was a. Will you meet up?
Sorry.
So I found out. I went to Memphis in May this year. I always like to go and visit. Me and Artie Davis keep in touch, and he had let me know that he was going to be there this year judging. So I went over and, I had a good Friday night just hanging out. And then I met Artie on Saturday, and he took me over to meet Tuffy Stone. And this was before they had announced that, Tuffy won overall. Mm-hmm. Tuffy, I enjoyed your interview with him. Super nice guy, super humble. And Artie was like, hey, Tuffy, this is Michael Quessenberry. This is Jim Quessenberry's son. And he's like, I know exactly who he is, because Lee and I both look just like our dad.
Yeah.
But he was like, I know exactly who he is. I voted for him in the Hall of Fame. I voted for Jim in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And at that point, I was like, wait, you voted for him? Because, I knew that he had to have made finals to be voted for by Tuffy. I was like, so he made the finals? He's like, yeah, he sure did. I voted for him. And I didn't know the short list then, but I was just like blown away, I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I started researching and Googling, and I saw your bit where you were announcing that Meathead had also made it to the short list, and I listened to your podcast, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Dad made it. That's so cool, So I'm just elated. I'm, happy to be on the show. I'm glad that we connected with each other.
Do you think, what do you think his reaction would have been if he would be around? Was that something that would jazz him up, or is he more of a humble guy?
Yeah, I think it would excite him. He definitely was a humble guy, but he was also I don't know if you've read some of the cookbooks and things that people have written about him. He was a larger than life kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He was a kind of guy that always liked to have fun, and so I think he would have been pretty excited about it, but humble as well. He did it because he loved to cook, he loved to barbecue, and he loved for people to have fun. He was a big prankster, There's actually an excerpt in America's Best Barbecue that Artie wrote about how when Dad was in Memphis in May, their Porta John had one of those little vents that you could take off of it, and he put a bullfrog in there when the women would go in to use the bathroom, and they would go running out screaming, because there's a huge frog in there. And the story goes in the book that there was one lady that was, pretty Southern lady, and Southern in the sense that she probably did some frog gigging in her time.
Uh-oh.
And she did not scream. And when she came out of there, she said there was a bullfrog in there, and the poor little sucker jumped to his demise.
Oh my God. Well,
so yeah, that's the kind of guy he was, and we're just trying to carry on that kind of legacy and have fun cooking and have fun barbecuing. If you get a chance, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's a video of me meeting Big Mo Quessenberry. So his team put me up to, they were like, hey man, you want to make $20? And I was like, that's kind of scary. I don't know. But let me hear you out. And they said, all right, so here's what you got to do. We're going to let you meet Big Mo. And we're going to tell him you're his biggest fan. And when we hand him the Sharpie marker, we want you to raise your shirt over your head and try to get him to sign your chest.
How'd that work out?
So I said, hey man, keep your money. That's fine. I don't need the money. Let's do this. So I did it. It's on Facebook.
Oh.
It was...
did he sign it? Or did we got to go watch and
actually,
see?
He didn't sign my chest, but he signed my shirt.
Got it. Yeah, nice. Yep.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's funny. Go check it out. The guy, Chu, that was on his team, his name's Antonio Chu. He told me that Big Mo told him that was the highlight of Memphis in May this year for him. So,
well, you did it. And we're talking with Lee and Michael Quessenberry. The website, by the way, jimquessenberry.com. You can buy all the sauces there. And guys, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes and getting to let us know a little bit about your dad and how he kind of came up through the barbecue ranks and things that he had done here. So we have a little bit better connection of story to, just a name being on a short list for the BBQ Hall of Fame. And certainly appreciate you guys taking the time out tonight.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well,
hey,
one quick thing.
Yep.
The website has if you want to hear more stories, we've got 4 or 5 years worth of stories that I've written and my brother have written on our blog there that are highly entertaining. And you can get kind of a feel for, which I know there's a lot of jokes now, but you can get a real good feel for like how the 80s were in terms of like barbecue contests and how those guys were some clowns. It was a lot of fun. And I wanted to just say thank you for having us on.
You got it. Guys, I appreciate it so much.
Hey, Greg.
All right.
One more thing real quick.
Yep.
I was just wanting to let... I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a giveaway on our website. We're giving away a gift basket with our old labeling that our dad created and also a T-shirt. I don't have it up yet. I will have it up by the time the podcast comes, gets posted.
And that's going to be on the Facebook page?
It'll be on our website,
okay.
quessenberry.com/giveaway.
/giveaway. All right, I'll go ahead and drop that in the post show notes as well. And once again, it's Lee and Michael Quessenberry. Thanks so much, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us, Greg.
You got it. There they are. The Brothers Quiz, letting us know about their dad, Jim. And it sounds like the 80s were insane competition. I think Ray Lampe has alluded to that in the past. Some of the other guys that I've had on this show. But, yeah, it sounds like the 80s was a Wild West, if you will. All right, we will be right back with Dreamland Barbecue. Jonathan Bird, I'll talk to you quickly about the barbecue guru. Believing that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun, because it can be, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. The Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control, greater freedom with automatic temperature control. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature. Let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill. You can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. Visit the website, bbqguru.com, or call them with questions. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology, and we are back with Jonathan Bird right after this.
continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. All right, as you are well aware, this past Wednesday, we announced the 2019 BBQ Hall of Fame class. Some names you may have heard, others maybe not. If you are into barbecue in Alabama, specifically Tuscaloosa, then you know about Dreamland. The original founder, John Bishop, was inducted into the Hall of Fame last week. And here to tell us more about the man, the restaurant, the business is the director of marketing at Dreamland. Let's race to the Fogo Charcoal Hotline and welcome first-time guest to the show, Jonathan Bird. Jonathan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you just fine. Thanks so much for making the time and telling us a little bit about John and Dreamland and all that good stuff. So before we get into that, if you don't mind, maybe just a little bit of background on you, if it's like food service generally speaking is something that you've been in industry-wise, or if this is a first foray into some type of live fire experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, again, thanks so much for having me and having Dreamland on. Yep. So, like you said, my name's Jonathan. I started off working as a dishwasher at a pizza restaurant back in college. Obviously fell in love with the industry because I'm still here today. I spent 10 years with a franchisee that owns several full-service pizza restaurants. After college, I just kind of grew through management and eventually wound up spending the last 5 years of a 10-year stint with that company as their director of marketing. Loved the role, got the opportunity to hop on the Dreamland team, and that's where I had been for about the past year. So, coming from a pizza restaurant, I thought the fanaticism and rivalry between pizza restaurants and their respective fans was pretty crazy, but I pretty quickly found out that it's nothing compared to what I've seen in the barbecue world. So that's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, few rival the passion that barbecue elicits. So from a personal interest level, aside from what you're doing with Dreamland, do you have a particular affinity for live fire? Will we be catching you barbecuing at home and stuff like this, or not so much?
Oh man, if they let me near those pits in the restaurant, that would be the day HR hands me my papers. I would burn all of the ribs. But no, I enjoy cooking. I'm just not good at it. But one of the things that we hear pretty often, just touching on your the affinity for fire and smoke. The pits. The smell and aroma and the smoke that our pits emit at each of our locations is often one of the biggest draws for people who are around the restaurants. So I'm obviously a fan as well, and clothes often come home smelling like that hickory wood, but I'll take that smell all day. So no worries on my end.
Jonathan Bird joining me, Director of Marketing for Dreamland Barbecue. The website, dreamlandbbq.com, if you want to check it out. So let's go ahead and back out for a second, Jonathan, if you can give us a fairly brief history on Dreamland Barbecue and how Big Daddy was actually able to get it up and running and how he started down its road of success initially.
Sure. Yeah, it's a lot of history, and I'll do my best to make it fairly brief. But John, Big Daddy, as we call him, Bishop, was born in Tuscaloosa in 1921. He actually spent much of his early years as a brick mason, but over time he decided he wanted to start his own business with his family and his community. He purchased some property in a neighborhood called Jerusalem Heights in Tuscaloosa. The business he initially wanted to open was actually a mortuary.
Oh,
so obviously that changed, and we're glad it did. But I think the thing that's really cool is the story we have, and that story is the reason we're a barbecue restaurant rather than a mortuary today. So Mr. Bishop purchased that property in that neighborhood in Tuscaloosa, and he said that one day while he's walking the property, trying to make sure that that's what he wanted to do. That was the business he wanted to open. God whispered in his ear and told him he needed to open up a restaurant instead, and to do it right on that property that he purchased that sat right in front of his home. After being told that a few times, he got with his family, his wife, Miss Lily, and they heeded the advice. So basically, friends and family members, and they built that restaurant themselves. Opened the doors in 1958 and called it Dreamland. So they initially sold everything from fried fish to hamburgers, and obviously the ribs. The ribs were obviously the star of the show. Word about them got out to Tuscaloosa residents and at the Alabama football coaching staff, and they would bring in their friends who were in town with recruits anytime they visited. Those friends would bring friends every time they visited. So the whole thing just really quickly snowballed, to be honest. And soon they had lines out the door for the ribs, and they had to whittle down that menu pretty quickly. So pretty much from the get go, within a couple years of opening, the menu was down to just ribs, a bag of chips, and then bread and white bread served with our barbecue sauce. Which we still do today. It's one of the things we're known for.
From a seasonings perspective and a preparation, from what I've read, it's a very simple process, maybe only salt on those ribs.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the very last part of your comment.
I said from what I was reading from a seasoning and preparation standpoint, it was all pretty simple, including maybe just salt on the ribs and nothing else?
Right, yeah, we can't give away everything, but it is a simple process. We're not low and slow. We do everything over and over in open flame hickory wood-fired pit. And, we've been around for over 60 years now, but, the techniques that Mr. Bishop and his wife, Miss Lily, and their family developed, we still do the same thing today.
So I'm asking you to speculate here, of course, but how do you think that John would have reacted to being inducted into the BBQ Hall of Fame last week?
I haven't, Mr. Bishop passed away in 1997. I think I would have been about 10 at the time. So I didn't really get a chance to meet him, but, the excitement of that nomination, or that impending induction has generated. His family is super excited. So I guess to answer your question, I'll just draw from a conversation I had with his daughter, Jeanette, who's still around today. So if you've seen pictures of Mr. Bishop, you'll know that he's a large guy who's known for being quiet and humble. But Jeanette, whenever she talked about how she thought he would feel, she mentioned how her father was viewed as a tough guy, not a man of a lot of words. Mm-hmm. But she said behind the scenes that he was, anytime he won an award or really got any sort of critical acclaim for his restaurant, whether it was a national award, national write-up, or just like kind words from a regular he'd had for a few decades, behind the scenes that he would be reduced to tears. So that I can't imagine knowing that this sort of honor would be any exception to that. So I'm positive he would be proud. I can tell you his family is incredibly proud. We as a company are proud. Tuscaloosa as a city is proud, and the just really all of our fans and fans of Alabama barbecue are proud. So we're very, very excited.
Is there a plan in place at this point to have somebody from Dreamland go down and accept or be inducted on his behalf?
We haven't discussed it specifically. This is all fresh, but I don't know. We might have to rent a bus or something. From what it sounds like, as excited as everyone
Big
knows.
crowd going down,
So
right?
Exactly. But we'll have some sort of representation there. Again, it's just such a huge honor, and I know his family is fired up and ready to go. I get a text message, every other day from his daughter asking if there are any more details that have been released, as far as the time and just sort of all the specifics for the event. So we'll be there for sure.
So aside from that flagship location in Tuscaloosa, I know there was a decent amount of growth over the years, and the current CEO, I think her father was the first one to take an additional location outside of Tuscaloosa, and the growth maybe spawned from there. But how many locations are currently under the Dreamland umbrella?
Absolutely. So, we just had that one location in Tuscaloosa for a couple, a little over 3 decades. One of Dreamland's many fans was a man by the name of Dr. Bobby Underwood, who we call around Dreamland. We call him Doc. He actually passed away a couple of years ago, but he actually developed a friendship with Mr. Bishop, and knowing Mr. Bishop took pride in his ribs and his product and his brand. Dr. Underwood kind of worked, asked him if he'd be interested in kind of sharing that joy that he spread, to other markets. So with Mr. Bishop's blessing, Dr. Underwood and his family opened up our second location in 1993 in Birmingham. Soon after, we opened up in Mobile, Alabama, then Roswell, Georgia, which is North Metro Atlanta.
Yeah.
And now we've got 10 locations today. So our CEO is actually the daughter of Dr. Bobby Underwood. So, while we've grown, we still have that small, almost family-run business type of feel, just, given the ties that we have to the restaurant historically, just at the highest levels of our organization.
Is there a continued look to grow, or is 10 the right number at this point?
I think like anything else, it all depends on the opportunity. We don't want to grow for the sake of growing. We want to make sure that we're taking care of all of our guests and our markets, first. And so that's our focus every day and always will be. We often get requests to expand, but obviously, we want to do right by Mr. Bishop and his family and Dr. Underwood and all of our employees and fans across the state and the country, and make sure that when we do expand, we can put out something that everyone's proud of.
We are talking with Jonathan Bird, who is the Director of Marketing for Dreamland Barbecue, and he's giving us a little bit of a history lesson on John Big Daddy Bishop, who was just recently inducted into the 2019 Barbecue Hall of Fame, along with Wayne Monk and CB Stubbs Stubblefield. Jonathan, there's also a fairly large online consumer presence as well, so if you can't get down to Tuscaloosa for ribs or some other stuff, you can go online and actually have those shipped across the country.
That's absolutely right. Yep, we sell our ribs and our barbecue sauce, which are our 2 heavy hitters. We've got one barbecue sauce. We've kind of got the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality.
Yep.
So, again, one of the same recipes Mr. Bishop and his family developed, over 6 decades ago. We also sell the general miscellaneous swag, a few other food items. So, best way to find out what we have is to check it out. So.
All right, and that website is dreamlandbbq.com. Check it out, see what you like. If you want some of those famous ribs, order them up, and they will send them your way. And again, we're talking with Jonathan Bird, the Director of Marketing for Dreamland Barbecue. Jonathan, really appreciate the time tonight and helping us get to know Mr. Bishop a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We'll see you in Kansas City, hopefully.
All right, hopefully we'll do that. There he is, Jonathan Bird from Dreamland. And that is one of the 3 inductees into this year's Hall of Fame, John Big Daddy Bishop. Tuscaloosa is the original location, right? That's right. Hopefully we'll see you in Kansas City. Jonathan?
Get that big stuff out of here.
I know you don't know the show very well, but there is a 2% chance that you'll see me at the American Royal this year. And this year continues to be the worst. I mean, this is the last of the worst years, I would say. But yeah, to say that you'll see me at the American Royal this year is probably one of the biggest stretches ever. Next year, way more likely. This year, not that likely. That's right. Like I said, doesn't know the show, but spent a lot of time here telling us about John and the growth and all that stuff. So, World Foods. Come on, man.
Get that big stuff out of here.
World Foods. I don't travel anywhere. If World Foods wants me, you'll come to Cleveland. All the way back in the first hour, as we wrap up, we had first Tuesday of the month guest Malcolm Reed from How to Barbecue Right. We also had first Tuesday of the month guest Sam the Cooking Guy, howtobbqright.com, thecookingguy.com, respectively. Both have and or are approaching 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Hey, you two, how about helping this guy out? Second hour, Lee and Michael Quessenberry, jimquessenberry.com, the website, talking about his dad, who was on the final 9, of which 3 made the 2019 Hall of Fame, telling us about his dad and how he got started in the 80s and how it was a wild west. And we closed it out with Jonathan Bird from Dreamland Barbecue as he talked to us about one of the 3 new 2019 inductees, John Big Daddy Bishop, the Dreamland founder. Big show planned for you next week. That's the 3rd, so I think actually Steven Reichlin is out of town all month. But maybe we'll get his assistant Nancy Lowski and we can talk about smoked cheese. We'll see. Other big name guests all ready to go. Maybe we can get more Hall of Fame interviews. We'll see. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.